There are moments in life when you look around and all you see is what didn't happen. The dreams you once carried quietly fall to the ground like dry leaves in the wind. The prayers you whispered night after night seem unanswered. The time you thought you had is gone, and the voice inside you says, "It's too late now, you missed it, you messed up, it's over." That voice can be convincing. It sounds logical, even responsible, but it is not the voice of God. God is never bound by time like we are. He's not limited by what you think is too late. He doesn't panic when you feel behind. He's not pacing in heaven wondering how to fix your delays. God is outside of time, yet He works intimately within it. He knows every chapter of your life and is not surprised by where you are right now. Maybe you thought by now you'd be further along, married, healed, free, restored, living the dream that once felt so alive in your heart. But instead you're standing in the rubble of a season you didn't ask for, watching others move ahead while you wait in silence. You may have even convinced yourself that it was your fault, that if you had prayed more, believed more, acted sooner, trusted harder, then maybe things would be different. But grace doesn't work like that. God's plans for your life don't hinge on your perfection. They hinge on His faithfulness. He isn't shocked by your delay. He isn't derailed by your detours. And no, it's not too late, not with Him. In the Bible, over and over, we see people who felt behind. Moses was 80 when God called him. Sarah was 90 when she held the promise. Joseph spent years in a prison before the dream God gave him came true. David was anointed king, but spent years hiding in caves before he ever touched a throne. Delay is not denial. Slow is not forgotten. What feels late to you is right on time with God. You are not too old. You are not too far gone. You are not too late. Not in God's story, because He doesn't operate on our clocks. He doesn't measure your worth by your milestones. He looks at your heart, and if you still have breath, then God still has a plan. The enemy wants you to believe that it's over, that what was lost can never be restored, that the years that passed were wasted. But God is the redeemer of time. He restores what was stolen. He revives what was dead. He reopens doors that were slammed shut. He breathes life into what looks like dust. That thing you gave up on, that dream, that calling, that relationship, God can still move in it, even now, especially now. His strength is made perfect in your weakness. His grace is enough for your delay. He's not asking you to make up for the lost time. He's asking you to trust Him with what's ahead. You might not be where you thought you'd be, but maybe that's because God is leading you somewhere better, somewhere deeper, somewhere truer to who He created you to be. Maybe the waiting wasn't punishment. Maybe it was protection. Maybe the delay was preparation. Maybe what you thought was a setback was actually God setting the stage for something greater. He is still in control, even now. Even here, even after all this time. It's a strange thing, isn't it? How quickly disappointment can convince us that we've missed our moment. We look around and compare. We see others moving forward, hitting milestones, living the kind of life we only dream about. And that quiet thought creeps in. I should have been there by now. But comparison is a thief, and one of its favorite lies is urgency. It makes you feel like if it hasn't happened already, it never will. That if the door didn't open on your timeline, it must have closed forever. But that's not how God works. God isn't measuring your story against someone else's. He's not rushing you toward success just to keep pace with the world. He's crafting something deeper, something eternal. And sometimes the slowest paths are the most sacred. Sometimes delay is the tool God uses to deepen your roots before He allows the fruit. We forget that Jesus waited too. He waited 30 years before stepping into public ministry. He lived a quiet, unseen life while the world went on around Him. No spotlight, no crowd, no miracles, just waiting, growing, listening, preparing. So if you're in a season where it feels like your life is still on pause, if you're wondering why the promise hasn't come yet, if you're looking at your hands and feeling like they're holding less than you hoped, don't confuse silence with absence. God hasn't left you. He's not punishing you. He's not done with you. He's planting something. And here's the thing about seeds. When they're buried, they look dead. They disappear. They're covered in darkness. There's no proof of progress, no applause, no clarity, just quiet. But that doesn't mean nothing's happening. In fact, the most essential growth happens in that hidden place. Roots stretch deep, foundations form, strength is established. And one day, when it's time, breakthrough comes. Not because the seed forced its way forward, but because it stayed where it was planted. It waited. It trusted. It endured. And maybe that's your invitation right now, to trust that being hidden doesn't mean being forgotten, to believe that too late doesn't exist in the vocabulary of heaven, to rest in the truth that God is never in a hurry, but He's never late either. There's a quiet beauty in realizing you're not the one holding everything together, that no matter how far you feel from where you thought you'd be, you're still held in the hands of a God who sees beyond your now. It's easy to believe that progress only looks like movement, that if you're not advancing, you're failing. But God's view is different. He values depth over speed. He values faithfulness over flash. He values surrender over success. Think about Abraham. God gave him a promise and then asked him to wait, not days or months, but decades. Abraham didn't see the full picture. He saw time slipping through his fingers. He saw years passing without fulfillment. But still, he believed. And God called that faith. It wasn't perfect faith. It wasn't without doubt, but it was real, and it was enough. You don't need flawless belief to stay in God's will. You just need a willing heart, one that says, I don't see it, but I trust you. That's the kind of trust that heaven honors. Not loud, flashy confidence, but quiet, steady surrender. And in the surrender, you discover something powerful. God is not just the God of perfect timing, He's the God of restoration. He doesn't just resume your story from where it broke. He rewrites it with grace. He fills in the cracks with purpose. He redeems what was lost, what was wasted, what you thought was too far gone. You see, the enemy wants to chain you to regret. He wants you stuck in the what-ifs and should-haves. But God is not stuck in your past. He's moving in your future. He's not replaying your mistakes. He's releasing new mercy every single morning. Every day, He whispers, it's not too late. I'm still writing. I'm still healing. I'm still building. I'm still here. Your part is not to figure out how. Your part is to trust who. To let go of timelines and surrender to His presence. Because where He is, hope still lives. Where He is, time is not wasted. And where He is, the impossible becomes possible. Sometimes it's not the loud lies that hold us back. It's the subtle ones, like, you missed your chance, or, if God was going to do something, He would have done it by now. These thoughts don't shout. They whisper. They sound almost wise, almost mature. But they are not truth. The truth is that God doesn't operate within human expiration dates. He doesn't look at your situation and say, it's too late now. He says, watch what I can do with what's left. He says, my power is made perfect in weakness, not perfection. He says, I will restore the years the locusts have eaten. You may feel like too much time has passed, that too much damage has been done, that you've made too many mistakes. But God is not looking for perfection. He's looking for surrender. A heart that is willing to say, here I am, God. Use what's left. And He will. He always does. Consider the widow in 2 Kings who had nothing left but a small jar of oil. That oil didn't look like enough. It looked like failure. It looked like the end. But in God's hands, it multiplied. It became the vessel of her miracle. What you think is too little too late. God calls a beginning. What you see as weakness, God sees as room for His strength. He is not asking you to go back and fix everything. He's asking you to trust Him with what's still in your hands, even if it feels like just a flicker of hope, even if all you have is a fragile yes. God works with what's real, not what's polished. He knows how long you've waited. He knows the ache of the silent years, the prayers that went unanswered, the tears that fell when no one was watching. And He hasn't wasted a second of it. Every moment has mattered, every sigh, every surrender, every breath that whispered, "God, I still trust you." He was there for it all, and He's still here, now, calling you forward, not back, because He's not finished. And it's not too late. Sometimes we assume that being in control means everything feels calm, steady, predictable. But God's control doesn't always look like comfort. It often looks like trust. Like walking through a storm without sinking. Like standing at the edge of the unknown and choosing to take one more step. Like praying with no answer and still saying, "Amen." We think, if God was truly in control, why would He let me go through this? But His control is not about keeping us from pain. It's about leading us through it with purpose. He doesn't waste pain. He transforms it. Think of Joseph, sold into slavery, wrongly imprisoned, forgotten by those he helped. Year after year passed, and it must have felt like the dream God gave him was dead. But in the background, God was moving the pieces. Even in the prison, Joseph was in the center of God's plan. What looked like delay was actually positioning. What looked like betrayal was preparation. What looked like the end was the beginning of promotion. And when the time was right, not a second too early or too late, Joseph stood in a palace, not as a victim, but as a vessel. Not as someone who lost too much, but as someone who was entrusted with great responsibility. Because God had been in control all along. Your story may not make sense right now. It may feel like you've veered off course, like the clock has run out. But God doesn't just redeem time, He authors it. And when He writes your next chapter, it will not be a compensation. It will be a masterpiece. So don't judge your journey too soon. Don't give up in the middle of the sentence. The pen is still in His hand. And the story isn't over. What feels late to you is on time for Him. What feels broken beyond repair is the very place He chooses to begin rebuilding. Because with God, there is no too far. There is no too broken. There is no too late. There is only grace. There is only promise. There is only His timing, perfect and powerful. Maybe this is the shift your soul has been waiting for. Not a change in your situation, but a change in perspective. Because once you stop measuring God's presence by your pace, once you stop equating delay with denial, you begin to see the truth. He never left. He never stopped working. He never forgot what He promised you. It's not over. And what looks like an ending is often where eternity begins to speak. You might not see the full picture, but you can trust the hand that holds it. The God who made the stars doesn't lose track of your story. The one who parted seas and raised the dead is not intimidated by your timeline. He doesn't need everything to be perfect. He just needs your yes. So give Him your yes again, even if it's weary, even if it's slow, even if it trembles. Say yes to the God who's not finished with you. Yes to the future that's still unfolding. Yes to the grace that covers every missed moment, every regret, every lost opportunity. You think it's too late, but that's not what God says. He says, "I'm still here, I'm still good, I'm still writing, and the best part, this isn't the comeback, this is the continuation." Because His plan never stopped. His love never paused. His purpose for you is still alive. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. You are exactly where He can still move. exactly where He can still breathe life, exactly where He can still turn everything around, not because of your effort, but because of His mercy. So stand up, not in your own strength, but in the quiet confidence that the author of your life has not left the story. He's writing, still, right now, and the next page is still coming. Beautiful, unexpected, redeemed, because with God, it's never too late.